I will do is to ask each one individually to give a little, up to 5 minutes of a speech about themselves and what they stand for, whatever they want to say. And I will start doing it alphabetically. Then after that, people can ask questions. Please be brief with your questions. We want to hear from the candidates, not from you. And the candidates will have 2 minutes to answer, up to 2 minutes to answer, and I will just rotate who's answering first and last every time. And then about 10 minutes before we end, I will again ask them to give a wrap up to handle things that may have been hanging, they couldn't answer completely before. So when you get close to the end of your time, I will hold up 30 to show you have 30 seconds left. Then 10. That shows it all in reverse in my, and then I will, that for 10 seconds and then stop for, this will be the end. Does it show mirror writing in yours? Looks like pots.
That's normal, Leslie. It looks fine at our end. It's mirror image for you only.
All right, fine. And that way I can make sure that we're kept on time. So our three candidates, and I got to confirm with me, alphabetically, the first one is Nick. How do you pronounce your last name?
It's Knoth.
Knoth. Okay, I wanted to make sure I pronounce everything right. Then Shannon Martin is next, and then Bob Nolte. And so what we do is we start, you have up to 5 minutes, Nick Knoth, to give us your intro. Starting now.
All right. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to speak. It's good to be back. Again, my name is Nick Knoth. I am a candidate for Recorder of Deeds. So a little bit about myself personally first. So I'm originally from Southern Illinois for the most part, the metro east of St. Louis, for those who might know. I was born and raised there by a single mother along with my two siblings. We experienced, most of the staples of American poverty, and including eviction and food insecurity and domestic violence, to name a few. I'm extremely fortunate to have grown up through all that, and thanks to the support of some amazing teachers, went on and came here to Columbia in Boone County to attend the University of Missouri as a first-generation college student, where I earned my degrees in political science and history, as well as certificates in multicultural studies and American constitutional democracy. In college and since, I have spent my career working in government at all levels. That's included time in Congress, our state legislature, and most recently working with most of the municipalities within Boone County and county government itself. In addition to that professional experience, I am also a licensed realtor and notary. I spent my personal time dedicated to a few causes here in Columbia and Boone County. I'm on the board of directors for the Boys and Girls Club of Columbia. I'm on the executive committee for the Boone County Democratic Party, and I've served on around 10 different government commissions, ranging from the Housing and Community Development Commission for the City of Columbia to the Extension Council for the university here for Boone County. I am running for Recorder of Deeds because I believe that the combination of my personal and professional experience is a perfect fit for an office that serves a very fundamental and vital service that impacts not only people's everyday lives, but the lives of their children and future generations. And I'm proud to say that I don't think, it seems that I'm not alone in that belief that my background is a perfect fit for this position. Since I've announced my candidacy for Recorder, I have received over 20 endorsements for this race from a combination of local elected officials and community leaders across Boone County. That includes the mayors of Hallsville and Roachport and Centralia, as well as several of our Columbia City Council persons and school board members. If I'm elected, my priorities for this office will be to are twofold: to ensure equitable access to all government services and records, and to really prioritize the modernization of processes. Assuming I'm good on time, I'll expand those quickly. What I mean by prioritizing modernization of processes is, while Betty Johnson and Nora Dietzel, who are two last recorders, have done an amazing job in the position, we still have a significant amount of our historical records that have not been digitized. And a big priority for any recorder at any point should always be redundancy. And for us, having such a large chunk, up to a third of our historical records not digitized and only in one place, means that we don't have the redundancy, and at the same time, we don't have as easy access to those records. So making it to where we have the redundancy, and also making it to where more things are available online for people to view, which connects to my second priority, and perhaps the one that I'm most passionate about, which is equitable access in terms of socioeconomic access and geographic access. Geographically, we are about 700 square miles of a county with upwards of 200,000 people living in it. We're very diverse and we're very spread out. The fact that we are only in one spot in the county government building in downtown Columbia is neither equitable nor accessible to a majority of the county, even people who live in Columbia. And so to that end, I think that we should be following the lead of our county clerk, of our county collector, and periodically, to the extent that we can, go to the people to provide that service when we can. On the flip side of that, it's expanding the hours. Right now, they're only open 8 to 5. We should expand that. That's not accessible or equitable. And I will wrap up with saying, again, my name is Nick Knoth. I'd appreciate earning your vote, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. And I'm also happy to expand further on my priorities given the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next is Shannon Martin.
Hi,
Start.
I'm Shannon Martin, and I'm running for Recorder of Deeds. I'm born and raised Boone County, 6 generations. I graduated from Hallsville High School and Columbia College. My background is that I work in the recorder's office, and I know what's required of the recorder's office, and I know the pride that I have every day in serving Boone County. I work with those processes every day, from recording documents to marriage license and tax liens, with a variety of other things that we do every single day. I've been a deputy recorder since 2018, and I love what I do. I love the records. I love what they stand for. I can remember my very first day walking into the vault and seeing all of those records in those books and thinking about how many feet touch the ground of those records, and looking into those marriage license. I saw my grandparents' marriage license and my parents. I even found my sister's, where there I was as a witness to her wedding more than 36 years ago. That was very exciting to me. And as I move forward, I want to preserve those records absolutely the best possible. And that means upgrading the software so it's everything that we need and we have all the tools necessary. I want to make sure that the equipment is top-notch in order for preserving and recording those documents. I think about those digitized records and the fact that we are working on those every single day. We have downtime. Those are the first things that we take care of, is putting those in. And each week we add a few more and a few more. I don't think it's enough. I do think that we need to maybe just have one person or a different company that may come in and do those for us. It is a process, and it's daunting to read those old documents, but it's something that that we take pride in. I mean, we continue to add those things every single day. As an employee of the recorder's office, we are 100% customer service. During the entire pandemic, we processed more documents than ever before since 2003. Record numbers, 250 documents per day that we were recording. No backlog. We did every single thing, and we answered every phone call, and we handled every single person that came into the office. I'm proud to be part of the recorder's office, and I want to elevate us so that we can maintain the status that we've achieved throughout the state. I'm Shannon Martin. I appreciate you allowing me to be here as I'm running for Recorder of Deeds.
Thank you very much. All right, the next person is Bob Nolte. Let's see, where is he? Oh, there you are. Time for you to start.
Hi, Leslie. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Appreciate you having us on to talk about this race. Really fun. So my first political event that I ever attended in Columbia was in 2016. It was Brian Treese and Skip Walther, their debate or their forum when they were running for mayor. And I thought Muleskinners was a great organization to have those type of events. Never thought that I would be the one running and presenting as a candidate. Also didn't think we would be on Zoom for this long. But anyway, that's where we are. I'm Bob Nolte. I'm running for Boone County Recorder as well. Want to point out that our current recorder, Nora Dietzel, is retiring. So that's one of the reasons you see so many of us interested in this position. It is an open position. The primary functions of the recorder, as have been mentioned, land transactions, marriage licenses, tax liens, as well as U.S. military discharge, all really important documentation in the lives of people, all really important that we protect it. My experience, I've spent the last decade at the university. I left as the Director of Compliance and Athletics. So in that role, I spent my time developing policies and procedures, managing the implementation of those, documenting, preserving records, as well as implementing new technologies in order to make our office more efficient. When I started at the university, I came in as a customer-facing role where I was interacting directly with student athletes and coaches and administrators on a regular basis, similar to how the deputies interact in the office. Over time, as I got promoted, I trained the replacement for that position and then eventually managed them. So I have the experience in administration, managing the folks that are providing that great customer service. And I think Shannon hit the nail on the head. That's got to be a main priority for the office, is making sure when people come in that they have access to the records, that they can get what they need when they do. A lot of the times folks aren't interacting with the recorder's office too often, but the recorder's office is always there working to make sure that those records are protected. Priorities in office, I think both candidates have mentioned great things, making sure we are being as efficient as possible, using the taxpayers' money efficiently. So it is over a $500,000 budget for the office. I think having someone with experience managing those type of funds is important. Outside of work, I spent 6 years as the treasurer for the City of Columbia New Century Fund, which is a local nonprofit. It's a city council appointed board and commission that is a separate nonprofit that manages grants for the city. We've done things as funding influenza shots, as well as upkeep on the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial at Battle Gardens. And I think that directly relates. Outside of that, also been a long-time volunteer within the party, probably have knocked a lot of your guys' doors, whether it was back for Martha Stevens or Jason Kander, Michaela Skelton, Judy Baker, most recently Nick Foster. So have experience doing that and think I know the best ways that we can connect to voters, get our message out, and make sure they get to the polls both in August and then again in November, as we do have a Republican opponent. So whoever does win this seat will have to keep running. We'll have to make sure that we hold on to that seat and protect those county offices that are currently held by almost all Democrats. We have a long history of Democrats doing a great job managing our professional departments. And I think I know I want to continue that legacy as the next Boone County Recorder of Deeds. Hope to earn your vote on August 2nd and then again on November 8th. And happy to be here, happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, now we're into the question portion of our the questions. Are there any people who have questions? And we'll start the answers this time with Shannon Martin, then Mr. Nolte, then Mr. Knoth. Anybody have a question? Just put your hand up or make a noise or something. Because I can't see all of the, there, I got 2 hands up. All right, how about, well, reliable Herb and Sue Tillema? Whichever one of you wants to ask the question. And you're muted right now. So you have to unmute yourself, Herb. Okay, Herb, what?
I'm not certain that just having turned 80, I like being called old reliable. But anyway, I don't have a good handle on the magnitude of the problem with the Recorder of Deeds office and its continuing storage of paper records. What is the volume of records still well, that's still, because you're retaining them even if you have digitized them. What is the volume of stored paper records and where are they stored? I tend to, sort of former US archivist in the Federal Triangle, the Original Archives. I tend to think in cubic feet.
Okay, we'll start with Shannon Martin. We'll start, you can answer, Shannon.
Well, unfortunately, I don't have the cubic feet of the area that we have. There are 2 vaults in the office currently. One is more secure. It's the older records. It's everything past 1960, I believe. They're humidity controlled. They're fire protected. Those are the ones that we are working on to continue to get digitized. Everything prior to that, we're at about 1960 in digitization, sorry. And we no longer keep original documents, and we haven't for many, many years. We scan those documents and hand those originals back to the customer. But the older documents, which are in the back vault, are the ones that we're working on. It's a pretty large area. And let's see, we're on book 5,600, and they go back to book A. So there's quite a bit still left to do. But we're up to about 1960 that's accessible.
Okay. All right, next, if you have an answer, Mr. Nolte.
I think Shannon really hit it on the head. That obviously she's the one with that direct experience, knowing where those are and how far back we go. As we said, I think priority is getting those scanned. I also believe, Shannon, you may correct me if I'm wrong, that documents are stored in microfilm as well in 2 separate locations, kind of as a redundancy to make sure there were any issues. And I don't know if you can let me know if that's still correct.
That is correct. And they're actually stored in different states as well. There's plenty. It's not just microfiche. There's fully computer backups in 2 separate state locations that are undisclosed. Yes.
Undisclosed location sounds very scary, but very important for protecting our documents. So Herb, in addition to the in-person records, they also have them backed up there, and then the digital as well.
Okay, next to Mr. Knoth, you have anything to say?
And I will obviously agree with Shannon and Bob in terms of where they're stored, how they're stored, and just reiterate, redundancy cannot be overblown, and I know Herb will understand that from his time with the archives, and we're in a very good position because of the work Nora and Betsy have done on that.
Okay.
Can I add that there are the scanned images go even further back than 1960. So we had a company that came in and scanned a lot of the images. And now we're just adding all the extra information to that to make them accessible.
Okay. Pam, your hand is up. What do you have to say?
My question is just for Bob. I didn't hear what his education is.
So
Okay.
my education, I have a undergraduate degree from Binghamton University in New York, and that's in history. Had planned to be a history teacher and instead moved into administration. My master's degree is from University of Southern California, and that's in educational administration. And then came to Mizzou and then did a certificate at Mizzou in educational administration, was considering a doctorate for a while. Thankfully, I did some more classes and decided that wasn't for me, but those are the 3 degrees that I have.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, well, now both Shannon Martin and Bob Nolte got a little extra time, so we'll have to ask some spare question of Nick. But are there any other questions? Your hand's still up, Pam, is it?
Yeah.
All right. Well, gosh, we don't seem to have a whole lot of.
Oh, Leslie, I'll
Mari?
ask a question. This is
All right,
Mari.
Mari.
I'm just curious. I've always found it fascinating that county government, each elected official is their own independent office. And I assume they must have to work together somehow. So could you describe the role of the recorder of deeds in that context and how you would or would not change how that works now?
Okay, the first person to answer this one is Bob Nolte.
So I know from personal experience talking with other county elected officials that they all serve together on various committees. I think it's important, not only managing just the recorder's office, but contributing to the positive outcomes for the entire county. I've served on a few different committees within the university and within the city, where it's not directly related to what my job was, but bringing people together to make sure that we are getting the best outcome. And I think that is what voters want from county government, is they want people that are going to come in, work really hard every day to make sure that the taxpayers' funds are being used efficiently and effectively. I think I have good relationships with most of our elected officials. We'll have some new ones this coming year within the county, but being able to work collaboratively with them. There's some give and take within the budget. Everybody has what they want to achieve, what they want to expand within their office, but there's only so much money to go around. And I think working with our other elected officials to find what's best for the entire county, not just my one little area.
Next is Nick Knoth.
Thank you. Yeah, so it's true, and something people sometimes don't understand is how independent the elected officials are, that they don't have to work together. And it has at times been contentious depending on who's in office and the people involved. I will say one thing that I am as confident as I can possibly be on is my ability to work with all of them, because I've already done it. With 1 or 2 exceptions, I have for at least 3 years, if not more, worked with almost all of them in different capacities on topics relevant to their office in my previous position. And I have strong working relationships with them, and even up into including those currently running to replace retiring officials in other offices. I have worked with them as well. And so I have no doubt that I will be able to continue that working relationship because we have already established one and we already know each other. As Bob pointed out, which is a great point, that there is always a give and take, some horse trading around budgeting, because everybody wants, I know few people who want their budget cut and everybody wants an increase. And so there is a balancing act there. And, that's where I think it's important, and something I can say for myself in terms of having worked with all these government officials, all these county officials, knowing their priorities, knowing what their long-term, 5-10 year plan is, and knowing where I fit into that and how to work with them to say, okay, I can take, cut this year, you cut next year, and we go back and forth and everybody can win. And so I think my experience working with them will be very beneficial to me and therefore to the county as a whole.
Okay, thank you. Then, Alan, Mary Jo, I see you have a hand up.
Yeah, I've kind of wondered why this is an elected position. In a way, it seems like it's administrative, kind of like county public works director or IT director. And I wonder what your perspective on that is. It doesn't seem like it should be a political issue, a political position at all.
Before we go on, Leslie, I think Shannon needed to answer the
Oh, I
last
forgot
question.
Shannon Martin.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Shannon, could you answer the previous question? I'm sorry.
Well, prior to my experience at the recorder's office, I have managed and executed offices for 30 years. Office managers at many law firms here in town. I've worked for the university and Columbia College. Just the knowledge of how to organize and execute those offices is a huge benefit for me. Budgeting is something that will come. I have and I work with the most excellent staff currently who have been there for many years that will oversee and help train and make sure that I make that transition into the next level.
Okay, fine. I'm sorry I cut you off. All right, now go back to Al and his question. Since I have short-term memory problems.
Okay. Just to reiterate, I'm wondering what your perspective is on why, if this should be an elected position and why it is.
Okay, so this time last time we started with, is it Nick Knoth? Nick Knoth we started with now. All right, Nick, it's your turn to start.
Yeah, and that's a great question, and a question I get probably half of the doors I knock on ask that question because it's a very good question, right? And the answer is it's because of how our county government is set up due to the state constitution. That's where it's mandated. If you're anything but a charter style county government, then your setup, your powers and responsibilities are all dictated by the state constitution. And so because we are a first-class county, and even if we were second or third, that's just how it is. Because that's in the state constitution, this position is elected up until and if we transition to a charter county system of government. This will always be an elected position until that time.
Okay, well, then next is Shannon Martin. I hope you can add something to that.
I mean, I don't believe it should be an elected official. I think it's an administrative position, and that's where I stand. It is what it is, and now we have to deal with it. But I do believe it's just an administrative position.
Okay, thank you. And then Bob Nolte.
Similar to Nick's answer, very regular question we hit on doors. I actually knocked one last night that had talked to Nick and asked Nick that question and asked me the same thing. Like Nick said, the statutory limitations on why we elect these positions as a first-class county. Smaller counties don't have recorder of deeds. They actually have their county clerk do the work. But once you get to be a big enough county, the state constitution dictates that you have a recorder that's going to be dedicated to managing these issues. I do think as an elected official, it gives us the opportunity not only to administer the office, but to contribute to the rest of county government, as we talked about in our last question, working on the budget, working on with different priorities of the county. So I think it is still important, especially that because it's an elected position, that we put people in this position that not only can be administrators for the office, but work collaboratively with the other elected officials.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, who else? I see some hands up from people that, oh, well, how about Nancy Copenhaver?
Hi, going back in memory, my father was a recorder of deeds for 28 years. And I remember back in the 60s when I was in high school, helping him some in the summers with those great big books, the really thick books that had all of the handwritten documents from way back, even so much as the selling and buying and selling of slaves in the area. And I'm wondering what happens to all of those books when the records are transferred. Do they go to like a historical society or something for preservation, or are they just gotten rid of?
Okay. Shannon Martin, you're the first one up this time.
Those books are still available. You can walk in, you can lift those big heavy books and you can open them up and you can see whatever you'd like to see. We still have them on site. So if you'd like to come in, I'd be happy to show you around.
Okay. Bob Nolte?
Again, technical answer from Shannon that they're still there. I think they are important for us to be able to access them. I think it gives you a good sense of history to be able to actually page through and see some of the handwritten documents. Even with the high quality scanning we're using, some of that can be hard to read. It just doesn't translate the same on the computer. So I think for some research purposes, it is great to have those still available for our citizens.
Okay, thank you. And Nick Knoth.
I agree.
All right, that's a short answer. You don't need to elaborate. Okay. Is there, do you still have your hand up for another question? Oh, Carl Scala. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie. My interests often run toward intergovernmental relationships, if you will. And the city clerk, of course, for Columbia has a pretty close relationship with the county clerk. I'm wondering what the relationship is between the recorder of deeds and the municipality, the city of Columbia. Is there a relationship, and what's the nature of that relationship?
All right, and we'll start with Bob Nolte.
So I think this is important for all of our county government officials to work effectively with their respective agencies at the city. With the drawing of plats or laying out of new subdivisions, those type of land transactions, that would all get recorded at the office. So making sure we have a good understanding of what's going through planning and zoning, what's coming up through council, to then get those plats recorded. City might also work with us for documents if they're investigating any property records. So it can just be important for us to have those good relationships. It's not necessarily as clear as a city clerk, county clerk, but I think there's the opportunity to build those strong relationships, be helpful when we're when we're needed, and being a resource for the city.
Okay, thank you. Nick Knoth.
Yeah, great question, Carl. As you know, there is actually a direct relationship between the Recorder of Deeds office and the city. And thanks to my time working with your city clerk, Sheila, it's really around planning and zoning. The planning staff and the planning and zoning staff and that commission, which is appointed by the council, and Carl is a part of that, have to use the recorder's office constantly for access to information. They are an extreme example of a group that relies heavily on the resources of the recorder's office. And so it would be fundamental for whoever the recorder is to have a robust relationship with not only Sheila, the city clerk, and of course council, but members of the staff that lead planning and zoning. And again, I'm fortunate to have not only that experience, but those relationships already in place.
Okay, thank you. And then Shannon Martin.
I think we've established a relationship with the city clerk. We see them often. After every council meeting, they're in with the new plats and of all the new developments in town. We're very close with them. We're close with the surveyors that come in and research the documents. That's about what I see from where my angle is. But I do believe it's definitely a great relationship to keep open and keep building on.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a question? Let's see. All right, Sue Tillema. And you're muted. Okay.
You said there'd been one question that was mostly to Bob Nolte. So I have a question for Nick Knoth. You initially ran for presiding commissioner. Can you explain why you chose that as compared to this particular one to begin with, and why you changed?
So two reasons. Number one reason, I had no idea that Nora Diesel was retiring. I knew that Dan Atwell was, and I was under the impression that we were not going to have quality candidates on the Democratic side, which was a surprise to me. And fortunately, when Kip decided to change his plans and run for office, I subsequently dropped out of that and endorsed him for obvious reasons. And even when I did that, honestly, I didn't know that Nora was retiring, nor was I planning to run. It was not something. It was not something such as, okay, I'm going to drop out of this and go run for that. After I dropped out and endorsed Kip, several people, elected officials and community leaders, reached out to me who did know that Nora was retiring and asked me, and rather I'd go as far as say strongly encouraged me to consider running for recorder. And that was something, again, that was unexpected for me. But my wife and I and friends and family and others took a very long, cautious look at that for a number of reasons. One, I wanted to make sure that there were not, very high caliber candidates already running for that. And to one, go talk to Nora Diesel and some other folks, and really, again, with a great deal of caution and foresight, think about that. And ultimately, I decided to jump in because, as I've said, I felt that compared to the people who I knew were running, that I felt my combination of experience was the best fit. I had no shortage of support, as I have already demonstrated. And that's why I'm running for recorder.
Thank you. Now, all of you have had a chance to be sort of one to answer one question. Are there any other questions? I do have one of my own I could ask, but I'd like. What changes would you make in the office if you become recorder? And let's see, last time we started with, can't remember who we started with.
Nick.
Who goes first this time? Does anybody recall? If not, I'll just start with Shannon Martin. Where is Shannon? Oh, hi, Shannon. What are there any changes you would make in this office?
I think the biggest change is making sure that the equipment that we have is top notch. Computer screens that probably need to be updated, scanners, things of that nature, things that would give us an upper hand at having the best quality of documents. We still hand print books. And I think having those printers that are higher quality will print those books even better than what we have currently. And although we don't keep the regular current or the original documents, we do keep books of every single thing that comes in. So I really think the technology and working with the software providers to make sure that they have written the program exactly how we need it to do the job the best way possible.
Okay, thank you. Bob Nolte, what would you say?
I agree with Shannon. I think technology is a huge thing that we need to be on the cutting edge of. I'll give you an example. So when I arrived at Mizzou 10 years ago, we were doing everything on paper in our office, which was really unwieldy, wasn't something that was going to be useful for very much longer. We had, stacks and stacks of files. Every student athlete every year filled out 20-page booklet of all their information. And then we had someone go in and type it all up and enter it into an Excel spreadsheet for us to actually use it. So while I was there, we went and did an RFP process, request for proposals for our first technology system. I was in charge of implementing that, getting our coaches trained, student athletes trained, finding ways to make us more efficient. That lasted 5 years. When that contract ended, we actually went through a second process, was able to be a little more involved in that as we were selecting the company we want to work with, making sure it was the right fit. Like Shannon said, getting it exactly the way you want it to be the most efficient. And then I was responsible for implementing that, training folks, and making sure it's the most efficient we can be. So I think that experience, having done that twice through the university process, would be similar to how we would go about it in the recorder's office, making sure that we're getting the best product, the best price, so we can be the most efficient we can be.
Oh, all right. Thank you. And Nick Knoth.
Yeah, so I think one thing that we can all notice is that all three candidates agree that we need to prioritize the continuation of modernizing processes and really embracing technology, and which is great for Boone County. That way, no matter who you elect, it's going to be a priority. Perhaps the biggest change I would make is really prioritizing, as I started talking about in my opening, equitable access. Is a huge, huge deal in every government office, and certainly in the recorder's office. The fact that the office is only open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday is inherently inaccessible and inequitable. Most people are folks like my mom when I was growing up who are working more than one job, have kids, probably, nowadays not uncommon to be a single parent, and doing something as vital as using the recorder's office between the hours of 8 and 5 Monday through Friday is just not, it's just not realistic to today's experience. And so I want to expand those hours. And again, that's where, having those relationships to work with county officials to find that in the budget to make those things happen is going to be important. And as I've already said, in addition to equitable access, or another part of that is going to the people, or at least providing that opportunity, that chance. Obviously you can't take the physical ability what the recorder's office does in its location downtown. But you can still go and periodically, once a quarter, whatever you want to do, set up shop in Centralia or Ashland, wherever, and answer questions and help people. Because I can tell you, as I've been knocking doors, I'm answering questions because people are like, how do I do this? Is this where I do that? Things of that nature. And we just need to be, again, very cognizant of all the different ways equitable access is an issue with this office, as it is every office. But again, this office is fundamental and vital, and that needs to be a priority.
Okay, thank you. Now, are there any other questions? Oh, old reliable Herb. This will be the last question.
Warned you about that earlier. Now, the proposals for change that I have heard today are in the main modest. This is not apparently as exciting in terms of eliciting revolutionary proposals as some other offices. And as a former archivist, I find that strange. But anyway, but even if so, when you propose to emphasize something more than it has before, and each of you has declared intentions along that line, the money has to come from somewhere. There are only three possibilities. masterful administrative skills which allow you to squeeze more out of people who are doing the present work. Two, creating an aura about your proposed speed ups such that the members of the county commission will be panting to throw money at you. Or if you change priorities, what are you going to cut? So would you
Okay.
tell us, since each of you is aiming in the same way or says it, which of those three things are you going to do? And if you're going to cut, what are you going to cut?
All right, we'll start with Bob Nolte.
Thanks, Herb. Always appreciate your great questions and laying out what our options are for answering them. I think it's a little bit of all of them. I think there's great administration, making sure that we are working as efficiently as effectively as possible. I've been lucky to work on some great teams within the athletic department, leading those teams. So making sure that everybody is pushing in the same direction, being the most efficient. I think there is something to be said for lobbying the council or the commission to make sure that we are getting the funding we need to be able to modernize and have the most efficient and effective processes. There's core functions that the office has to meet. And by making sure we're doing those efficiently, we're serving the taxpayers, we're serving the people of the county. And then your last option is cutting something. I mean, there is funding within the budget every year for technology improvements. So it's really looking at how we're using those, where we're using those. The recorder has two different sets of the budget. So one area is allotted by the commission. The other area is from specific recording fees. So looking at exactly how we're breaking down what fees are being used where to possibly reorganize whatever our priorities are to make sure that we're serving those core functions of the recorder's office.
Thank you. All right, Nick Knoth.
So everything is on the table, right? I mean, that is how it should work. Whether it's cutting, whether it's deprioritizing, lobbying for additional funds, everything's on the table. But what I will say, because it just happened, that we should all be thankful for, and I know that Carl Scala and Justin Aldred are very happy about it. Our citizens of Boone County passed the Wayfair tax. So Boone County has not been losing revenue. They've been pretty steady, I think up, and Justin can correct me, they've been up 1 to 3%, but with inflation, that's not really up on annual revenue. And with the Wayfair tax and the money that we will be collecting from all online internet purchases, there will be additional funds available at the county level. And we all know, and I can guarantee you that every single county elected official is going to have a plan for that money. And I will be one of them if elected. And again, it goes back to what we've talked about, I think 2 or 3 times now, is having a robust relationship and strategy when engaging with your fellow county elected officials. And in this case, specifically the commission and the county auditor, whoever our new auditor will be after the election. And I believe I will be in a position to effectively make that argument. And to Herb's point, that all of our proposals are not necessarily ground shaking, right? We're not talking about any of our proposals requiring millions of dollars in new revenue. It's about being efficient, being lean, which the office is. It has, and Shannon can correct me, I believe 6 staff is the number. So again, everything's on the table, but the Wayfair money will help a great deal. And ultimately it comes down to having strong relationships with county elected officials and being a good advocate for your staff and empowering them.
Okay. All right. All right, and next is Shannon Martin.
I will agree, there are 6 employees. But we also have an archival fund that can probably be tapped into. Now we have a brand new plat scanner that really does do great images of those huge plats and surveys. That's new for us. What I'm speaking more of is updated monitors. So no, not millions of dollars. The equipment that help us see those old documents when we're indexing those. That's what I'm referring to. We have some old printers, but it's nothing into the large sums of money, but that archival fund, I think, can be utilized in that sense.
Thank you. Okay, we come to the end of the questionings, and so we'll just start out with final wrap up. I don't know if I should. It's 1:10 now. Maybe I'll have to give you just 2 minutes to wrap up, if that's okay. And we started last time with Nick Knoth. We can now start out with Shannon Martin. You have 2 minutes to give us your wrap up.
I'll just reiterate that I currently work in the recorder's office. I absolutely love what I do. I absolutely want to preserve those records in the best way possible. And I just look for your support in becoming the next recorder of deeds. I say I'm 6th generation Boone County, but 1st generation politician. So I'm not polished, but I'm here with the passion to make that office run efficiently and effectively.
Right. Thank you. And then Bob Nolte.
Thanks everyone for your time today. Who knew we would have such a great turnout for the Recorder of Deeds discussion. Really just want to reiterate my qualifications as a professional administrator, having run similar situated offices, being able to lead a team, as we said, 6 employees, not a whole lot, but we need to make sure we're getting the best out of them. I think it's really important that we have consistency and reliability from our recorder's office. People know where we're going to be, when we're going to be there, and that we're able to serve the population, the citizens of Boone County, the most effectively that we are able to. I will ask for your vote on August 2nd as the next Boone County Recorder of Deeds. Thank you all.
Thank you. And Nick Knoth.
Well, I want to start off by saying thank you to all of you for hosting this and hosting us. I think it's fair to say that our race is not the most attractive in Boone County, although the recorder's office is the most sought after in Boone County. There are 4 people total running for it, counting the Republican. And I'll reiterate my experience. You know, I've worked at every level of government all at once, basically. I have spent my career doing that and building bridges and bringing people together to solve problems and to make our government as accountable and as efficient and as effective as possible. And that is what I want to bring to the recorder's office. My priorities, again, are to prioritize modernizing processes and really to ensure equitable access in all ways to the government services and records of the recorder's office. On top of that, you know, I think it's important because this is a primary and we're in what is likely going to be a good year for Republicans to also look at and consider everyone's electability in the general election. To my knowledge, I am the only candidate who has demonstrated and a proven track record of countywide support, again, with the endorsements from red areas of the mayors of Hallsville and Centralia and Rocheport, on top of course, support from Columbia City Council persons and school board members. And I think that makes me a robust candidate, a strong candidate for ensuring what is going to be a rough November election for Republicans. And I don't want to try to cause panic or doom and gloom, but that's true. We are redder than we used to be. And certainly Boone County is not as blue as we would like it to be. And I think that I will make a great general election candidate. And again, I appreciate your time and the opportunity to speak. It's good to see you all.
Right. Thank you. We all applaud. And I'll turn it back over to David Mallory, wherever he is.
I'm here. Thank you,
Okay.
Leslie. Appreciate it. Great job again, as usual, Leslie, for moderating. I appreciate that so much. And again, to our 3 candidates, I appreciate you all being here. It's good to hear all of you at once. I hadn't even met Shannon before, so this way I get to see all of you. So I appreciate it. I'm sure the rest of our audience, as was mentioned, got a good group. Appreciate everyone, all of our people in attendance. So thank you all for that. I believe, well, our time, actually, they did a good job of wrapping up with their 2 minutes each. And I only show 1:14, so we actually have a minute left. But I think we yes, someone.
This is Kathy Jensen.
Yes,
I just
Kathy.
wanted to say, we will have a program next week. I'm just not sure at this time which one of two possibilities. It will not be candidates. It will be a speaker.
Okay, very good. I was about to ask, I didn't make a note of that, who's going to speak. So come back next week for our surprise guest. And watch, Scott Crystal puts that out on his write-up every week. So I always look for that as a reminder to me that, oh, we have Muleskinners coming. Don't want to miss it. So
Also on our website.
On our website, and I've tried to, when Scott sends it out, I take the information, put it out on Facebook at several different locations. So, but if you want to be surprised, don't look at any of those, just be here at noon next Friday and we'll see who our guest speaker is going to be. All right, thank you all. I do want to remind the officers that we're having an executive committee meeting as soon as we wrap up here. So appreciate everyone for being here. Thank you so much. And I'll officially close this meeting. I use my gavel here. Okay, we're close. I'm glad that these are light gavels.